Yeah, he's been
And we're
MIA,
on
bro.
the air. On the air. No, you know what? He's been busy. Like
Yeah, I know.
he was on with me last night after, which I like to add to the group. I have finally been bestowed upon with the C-band of greatness in Washington D.C.
Ooh, there you go.
Yeah. So I found it. It's starting to do look like the same type of deployment that T-Mobile was doing, which is in sporadic areas. Um, my first encounter was near the Pentagon, so near a government installation, it just outside of the area of. So I posted in the chat, the other chat that Brandon runs. That I saw like about 600 or 700 down, and that showed the full deployment of what it was. So which I noticed something about the deployment of Verizon. It changed. So Ashay was poking fun at me, but the deployment changed. So it was all mid band in the city now. Before it was like maybe 66, maybe 13, and band five, but then all of a sudden now band five is N5 now, all over the city.
Oh, so they're cutting it over from LTE to NR.
That's what it looked like.
Nice.
So I noticed that deployment had changed, and I was like, does this mean that we have? Is it real? So as I'm doing Uber, I'm driving around with the app with the service screen open, and lo and behold, I hit N77. I was like, oh snap, let's see what we got, and voila! So it's here in Washington D.C. now. I don't have to drive 30 minutes outside the area to go to experience this.
What speed were you getting?
I saw about, what was it? Oh, 600 down, 600 by 100.
No,
Nice.
so it's literally
I'm gonna
like
go back and look
Pretty
again.
M41.
solid.
It was only 60 megahertz though, which is still good for 60 megahertz. I'm not about to go, oh, that's only 60 megahertz, like everybody kept doing for T-Mobile. Look, 60 megahertz and it's giving me 700. That's good.
That's phenomenal for 60 megahertz.
Now, granted, it was aggregating 66 twice in band five, which that seems kind of weird. If it's DSS and if they still a DSS in five in five to in band five, would my phone still pick it up
Yeah.
on the LTE side?
Yeah, that's how it works here. If
Okay.
so in my market, they've got 10 megahertz of ECS N2, and when you're connected to C-band, it'll do 10 megahertz PCS on LTE, and then use the C-band as the main 5G carrier.
I'm going through where I posted. Hold on.
But what I am starting to see on Edge Cell is it's doing N2 plus N77, kind of like how T-Mobile does N71 plus N41.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see that on non-standalone on Verizon here with the N2 and the N77. So they are it's like a work in progress type thing. I don't know if they're not super keen on doing that right away. I don't think they really need to, but we will start seeing that pretty soon in more
All right.
places.
So I'm gonna show you. Hold on one second. I'm gonna show you what I got. Come in. So this is what I was getting the second go around when I went back into the city to go grab another trip. So it was on 66, 15 megahertz, and you could see N77 at the bottom, and that's the speed test in the middle.
Pretty good. If they just turned it up, that's pretty solid in terms of bandwidth.
I mean, because now here's the thing. You know that Verizon's not my daily driver, but I do switch back and forth to it from time to time. That the only thing I was seeing in the city was millimeter wave. So millimeter wave, different little hot spots all over the city, but nothing major. And then I noticed the deployment had changed, and I was like, wait a second, I'm on band two more, and it was band two anchoring for LTE. And when it was going out from there, then all of a sudden I started seeing. I guess it needed to see one good spot for it to pick up all the rest.
It could just be that. It could just be that your area they're still very early. I mean, everyone who was in one of those initial launch markets, it took them a couple days for the C-band to really roll out. It took a couple days. So
Right.
I would give it a while. Give it a week or two. They probably still have to optimize those sites and go through the whole rigmarole.
So band 215, the N77. Now I got up to like 735, but
that's pretty damn solid. And your RSRP is phenomenal. So is your SINR.
Oh dog, I've seen RSRP on T-Mobile. That is higher. So that means like everybody kept telling me C-band is cleaner. So the SINR is way better.
It's significantly better, dude. There's a site that they turned up that's kind of further-ish away from other sites. So I knew I was connected to it, and I was about a mile away, and I was still maintaining 30 SINR. It's extremely clean, and if they let it fly, it's game over. It's so much better than N41.
And
But
one more.
That's just my anecdotal experience.
So this is where I moved the screen up so I could show the bottom deployment. So N77 and then band 5. So like I said, that was weird. So I'm seeing band 5 at 10 megahertz. So that means they are DSSing it then.
Yep. Yeah.
That means they are DSSing it. Okay. And then another 6615.
Yep. Yeah. So they're doing DSS on 850, and then your phone is grabbing the N77, which it's probably configured to grab the LTE and band 5 then. That's normal.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. I was just like, I was like, oh man, I can't believe it. What have I stumbled across?
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. I mean, give it some time. It's going to take them a while to fine tune everything, and it'll perform pretty well.
What I'm waiting on, waiting on, and I should see. In all fairness, I was getting ready to do my next round of testing, but now that I'm stumbling across N77, I should wait now. Do you think so?
I think you should. Yeah.
Because it was going to be my next streaming test. I had did it with all 3 carriers, but now that I'm starting to see N77 starting to pop up, I want to make it a fair test. And I need to drive through that same testing area and see how often N77. I wanted that. Here's the thing. I saw where Verizon had some hiccups, right? The reason why I chose the some of these paths to drive down is because of how hard it is for the carriers to actually respond. So you got the airport right there next to the airport is where all the Uber drivers sit at too. So you got all those guys sitting on phone, waiting on calls to come into their phone. So all those cell phones are just like, imagine taking a whole bucket of cell phones and just sticking it in one area. That's kind of what it is. Is a whole slew of different At&t, T-Mobile, and Verizon drivers just sitting around. You know what I mean? And they're all sitting right there at the edge of the airport. So that's one of the reasons why I chose it, is because you don't just get the airport traffic of people. You get the people who are not at the airport to catch a flight, but they're waiting on trips. and that's the reason why I wanted to slice through that area. And I've done it a couple times, and but now that C-band is starting to show up, I want to give it a fair fight. So I might hold off. I was planning on doing it after I got these series of other videos out that I had when I went to North Carolina. So I'm slowly churning those out right now.
Sure.
And I was gonna end up going back to my beta test, but now that C-band is in Washington D.C., oh man.
Yeah, I would definitely say. I mean, once they get it rolled out in your area, it's gonna perform. It's gonna be a night and day difference.
Oh, I believe it. I believe it. I never doubted the fact that Verizon's network prowess. It just to me seemed that like yo they got caught flat-footed. That's the best way I can describe it. They got caught flat-footed. Like the fact that T-Mobile jumped out so fast on them, they were like fudge, and then nobody really wanted to pay attention to it. Me personally, it wasn't so much of me saying that one was better than the other. It was just that the stars aligned for T-Mobile to jump out first.
I mean, you got to remember too that Verizon and AT&T really didn't have much of a choice. Like there's not much they could do in the meantime. You know, like they were all waiting for C-band to clear. There's really not much they could do in between C-band clearing and whenever T-Mobile got their spectrum licenses. They kind of just had to sit around and wait.
Right. But here's the thing. AT&T could have easily just kept pace with Verizon, even if they only focused on major cities, but they wasn't doing that at all. They were like, we're gonna wait, then we're gonna wait again, and then we're gonna wait again. So Verizon was like, yo, all phasers set to kill. Let's go. AT&T was like, we're gonna stun them a little bit here, stun them a little bit there.
Well, I mean, AT&T really doesn't care about their mid-band rollout. To be honest with you, why would they? They clearly they've proven over the last 12 to 18 months that they can gain an absolute boatload of customers without emphasizing the network.
That's
Just,
true.
they've emphasized the deals and they've emphasized the bundle with the fiber.
Yeah, but
That's
you know what?
and that's
But
been
here's
a
the
very
thing.
effective strategy for them.
But here's the thing. I think the only thing that really was AT&T saving grace was the first net. That's it.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I don't necessarily think their commercial. I don't necessarily think that their consumer side was seeing leaps and bounds. I think they might have been able to stem the tide where Verizon was hemorrhaging. They might have been able to like, yo, you know what? We're not bleeding as much, but we're not gaining as much either. Because like, here you go. Let me pull this article up.
but if you look at their first net gains, their first net is not really bringing in the traffic and the consumers or the customers that they thought it was going to. People are still choosing Verizon Frontline over whatever they call it, FirstNet. But
Yeah,
the opportunity to upgrade their network in areas where it was literally falling apart was subsidized by the government for FirstNet, and that in turn is giving them some traction with consumer wireless.
right. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, hey, look, anything that you can do to keep your customers from wandering away is always going to be a good thing. My only thing is I think that AT&T benefited from like that their promotion of like, hey, look, existing customers get treated like new customers, right?
Hmm.
I think that was their biggest move. So that's a pain point in all industries. Like why do I have to leave you and come back to be able to experience something nice where I've been paying you, giving you my hard-earned money just so you can go, well, you were already been here before. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's been the same old cable talk for the last forever, especially with Charter.
True. Now, don't hey look. Remember when I said that earlier? Like with T-Mobile, all the stars had online, but Verizon and AT&T, more Verizon than AT&T had to deal with the C-band chaos of 2022.
Hmm.
The right here where C-band gets kicked off, and all of a sudden the aviation says, "Hang on, we have some concerns," because really it's supposed to have started 2021 for Verizon. Like because everybody calculated how long it would take for them to get their licenses and then get some certain things on air, and it's supposed to happen in 2021. But then the FAA was like, we have some concerns that planes might fall out of the sky.
Such a joke.
It was a joke. It was, hey, look, it was enough for Verizon to have to slow down. AT&T was like, yo, all our spectrum don't even hit until 2024, so yeah, we're good.
Well, I mean, you got to remember too, like AT&T really didn't start. They didn't really start even playing around with their C-band until February or March,
Right.
and then they went on that push. But they were gonna just let Verizon fight that fight at the end of 2021.
That's true, but I mean, at least show like, what was it? AT&T was like, oh well, we're gonna wait because we want dual panel radio setups, right? Which you should have said that before the whole debacle started happening. Then I would have believed you. But as soon as the FAA jumped in and was like, "Halt there, people," then AT&T was like, "Yeah, but that doesn't really affect us. We're waiting on something else." Verizon was like, "You bastard! I thought you was with us."
Well, to be fair, like AT&T over the last 12 months has been very wishy-washy with their stance on the whole C-band thing. Like they went out and they said, "Oh, well, we're gonna wait until we get this new dual pan panel radio from our vendors," blah blah blah. And then it was, "Oh, we're gonna certify these devices for DoD." Oh, but just kidding, no, we're not. And and then it was, "Oh, we're gonna emphasize on hitting certain amount of pops by the end of the year." I forget what they said, like 110 million or 120 million. And then it
Hmm.
was, "Oh, well, we kind of hit that, but like we don't really care." Like they've been so back and forth with their whole 5G plus network rollout that like I quite frankly I don't really believe anything AT&T says until I see it.
Okay,
Like,
but see, with AT&T being that wishy-washy, I presume that they don't really see a need to rush to 5G as fast as everybody else is. So like for T-Mobile, rushing to 5G is the actual like upgrade to them. Verizon sees it as a competitive upgrade, but AT&T sees it as like, we'll eventually get there. If we could slap a G on another G on top of like after we go from E to F, like let's call it 5G F. You know, if we could do that, then yeah, we're good.
well,
That's kind of
every
how I look at AT&T.
well, because they realize that they have a much stronger position in LTE now. Like everyone I talk to, well, who uses AT&T either as a
Hmm.
primary or a secondary or even a tertiary, says,
Hmm.
"I have a better experience on AT&T LTE than I do their 5G network." Why would they care to upgrade their network? Why would they care to dump billions of dollars into hardware if right now it's not even necessary? And people are expressing a better experience on the LTE side of things versus the 5G network. Like,
No, and totally understandable. That's why I don't see AT&T doing as much due to the fact that their customer base really don't care. I mean, I don't think that AT&T really struggled for the last maybe 10, maybe 5 to 7 years. I don't think that AT&T struggled with their customer base where a T-Mobile did. Like, as a T-Mobile customer, there's places around Washington D.C. that I know that if I was over near it, that I would be bogged down, right? So for T-Mobile moving to 5G was, hey, this is an upgrade for us. This makes our overall network better. And then Verizon is like, yo, as a competitive standpoint, we need to make sure we don't let T-Mobile out of our sights and show our dominance in network prowess. So for those two, 5G is something, but for AT&T, it's like, we're good. Y'all can go over there and fight amongst yourself.
Well, yeah. Well, and the thing is, too, you got to remember, like, before AT&T bagged the FirstNet contract, which at this point, I'm like, I guess I didn't have a good gauge as to where the network was pre-FirstNet, but from what I was told by everyone is that the AT&T network used to be absolute dog water. Like there were a lot of areas where it was pretty darn rough. So with that infusion of the FirstNet money on top of this explosive growth they've been seeing, they've been able to bolster that network pretty fast.
But you know what? I think that growth comes from the fact of expansion. It's not growth within their footprint. It's the growth of expanding their footprint. The same exact growth that T-Mobile's experiencing right now. So hold on, let me pull this up. So we all know that T-Mobile likes to boast and brag about every little nook and cranny that they able to come across, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't even wait until their quarterly earnings to start, blabbing their mouth about this one. So T-Mobile crushes it in Q4, adds 927K net phone ads. Now, here's the thing. That expansion is where T-Mobile's starting to get their quarterly numbers up from. I think the same thing that can be said about AT&T. When they started expanding their network and filling in those gaps is when people start going, okay, I could see AT&T now. You start making it better. You're expanding a whole lot faster than your competitors now. That's how I look at it anyway. And then you got T-Mobile now adding 6.4 million in 1 year. All that's got to be coming from expanding.
Yes and no. I think T-Mobile has made some huge strides in certain areas where they didn't really have a good coverage footprint prior.
But they were already saturated in the major areas that they were already in. So if let's say that they had a top presence in the top like 50 PEAs, there was no other way to grow, because even in Washington D.C. they closed multiple stores. There's stores that are gone that had T-Mobile branded on it that I've noticed, but it was like these stores were like 3, 4, 5 blocks apart. Their presence in the city in Washington D.C. proper is low.
Well, and you got to remember too that there were a lot of stores that were converted from Sprint stores to T-Mobile stores, and then they went ahead and axed a bunch of those stores that got axed. So sorry, they went ahead and closed a bunch of those stores that were converted over from Sprint stores. So
Right.
there was a time period, I'd say probably late 2020 through 2021, where you had T-Mobile stores that might have been across the street from each other. One of them might have been a corporate store, one of them might have been a dealer, or both of them could have been dealer stores. But at that point, you just have too much presence from a retail standpoint.
Right.
And
But what I'm saying is that the store, like even the stores that were close to each other, they closed all of them together. So like I could tell you this much. There hasn't been any T-Mobile growth expansion in my market. There's none. Like, the stores they were planning on keeping, they kept them. They already revamped them, they remodeled them. But the ones that were like downtown, they've gotten rid of. Like downtown DC proper, they got rid of them.
it probably has something to do with real estate. Real estate's a very influential factor, especially from retail stores.
I agree.
Like, and T-Mobile seems like the company to me where if there's a lease that turns up, or the real estate portion of that store, either if it doesn't offer enough value in terms of like outreach, like for example, like think about the stores like downtown Chicago, right
Mhm.
down Michigan Avenue. Those stores probably do not churn enough. They probably don't bring in enough revenue to justify the rent or the cost of upkeeping that building, but they're going to keep it there for the presence, the brand presence alone, because that probably pays more than the actual employees in that store.
Right,
But
but
downtown DC, if those stores aren't gaining enough traction, if it doesn't offer them a good marketing appeal, why would they keep it?
that's true. I mean, don't get me wrong, I understand that, but I'm just saying that I haven't really seen any new stores after this whole store consolidation at all. All the stores that I've seen are actually starting to be pushed away from downtown DC. They're
Hmm.
like, there might be a new store that pop up, you know, in a strip mall that's on the outside edge of DC, right? But all the stores downtown are gone. And we're not talking about like I'm saying, I totally understand like from what you were saying when it came to like let's say crossover stores, Sprint stores that were close to the T-Mobile stores. No, they closed down all of them. I knew where a couple of them were where they were within blocks of each other. They closed both.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't like we keep one, get rid of the other. It was like, no, we get rid of both. But
Do you
that's what
know?
I'm saying is
Do you
like
know?
with this,
If those were dealer stores or uh,
oh,
corporate?
I don't know. See, it's difficult for me to try to identify if there's a dealer or corporate. I don't
Gotcha.
know. I would not. I'm not gonna act like I know the difference between them. I just know that unless somebody has told me before if it was a dealer, because I know some of the Verizon ones will say dealer on the lower badge.
Hmm.
They'll say authorized dealer on the lower badge, but T-Mobile doesn't. I've seen stores where I've never seen the badge and they just see the T-Mobile logo. That's it.
Gotcha. I was just curious because historically, T-Mobile has not been very kind to um,
The dealers,
the dealers. Yeah, they've
yeah.
proven themselves to be very unkind to to the dealers, whether it's Metro or T-Mobile proper or whatever. It's a big hot button topic. I see it posted about on Twitter all the time.
No, I understand it's a hot button docket. I just think that right now they're pushing for their rule expansion right now. Like like here you go. When I went back home, I started seeing more T-Mobile stores going back home. So like the smaller cities that I'm from, I was like, oh, that's a new store. Oh, that's a new store too. Places where I never saw a T-Mobile store at, all of a sudden I started seeing it.
Hmm.
So that's what I think. I'm thinking that they're pushing for rule expansion, just like AT&T was and is right now. Which that's where look. I mean, come on. Where did they get 927,000 customers from? They didn't get it out of the cities where they've already been fully saturated.
No, absolutely not. They're getting it from rural.
So I'm just saying, like, yo, I think that if anything, agitating the dealers is just to get them to move away from the cities now.
Yeah.
That's what I think is like, yo, our push is in rural. Go to the rural areas, close up your stores. We've closed up ours, close up your stores, go out there into the country, put a store in the cornfield, because that's where we're pushing at now.
Well, and it's funny you mentioned that because I have a couple people that I talk to that are on the inside
Yeah.
at Mr. Magenta,
Oh,
the Thong Network,
the thong network.
and I can tell you for a fact, and this is just again, my word is not scripture. It's just what I hear from people
Insider information. Woohoo!
that there is a lot of emphasis on rural right now.
I
and
believe it.
both in terms of network expansion as well as retail footprint expansion. And I see it. I see it in areas that I travel where T-Mobile historically did not have their own network. They're putting stores
Right.
up everywhere.
Which that means that coincides with what I was saying is they're cutting away from their city footprint, which that's what they were relocated to in the first place, is just being in the city. Now they moving into rural area, so now they gotta take all those cityscapes that they were, cultivating, putting in, a T-Mobile in every other block in the city, and realize like, yo, we don't need to put our resources here no more. That's not where our growth is gonna come from. Your growth is going to come from being out there in the country and getting more people to, sign up.
And it's worth worth noting that those are areas where even Sprint historically had better coverage than T-Mobile.
That's
And
true.
T-Mobile's coming back through and they're like, "Yo,
Well, hey, look, when I was telling No Radio, and I was telling you, like, when I was going home. So if anybody that knows North Carolina, as soon as you get off of 95 and 64 and go east, I would automatically lose my T-Mobile coverage. I had a Project Fi SIM card at the same time, and I would notice that my T-Mobile line would die, but my Project Fi would switch over to Sprint. So I would be Sprint all the rest of the way. So after leaving 64 and 95, that 75 miles all the way home, I'll be on Sprint, right? But now, since T-Mobile is taking it over, yo, it's all T-Mobile from 95 all the way going home. And that is a big difference in comparison to like even a year ago. It was just roaming on Sprint. Now it's native T-Mobile. It was look, we went from in a year went roaming on Sprint, and understand I was still seeing, the Sprint bands 26, band 25, and band 41 Sprint to native T-Mobile now.
and that's very notable in terms of the pace, the breakneck pace at which they are able to
Oh
roll out
yeah.
the
Break
network.
breakneck is an understatement, man. Like toss out of a cannon and blowing through certain areas. But the thing is, and it's kind of disappointing that they're not doing it nationwide. But I just think that, yo, as a company like T-Mobile, they don't have the resources yet to be able to fully compete nationwide. But the fact that they're pushing into rural area is showing what happens when they just have a presence. I mean, 927K net phone ads, and that's just after, just 1 year of a good solid, like, yo, Sprint shut down, you know, Sprint LTE, Sprint's 3G, all that. After all that stuff, they're now starting to really start adding net ads now.
See, but
So,
my ultimate question when it comes to T-Mobile and their numbers, at
uh-huh,
least from what I can see, looking outwards, looking in, knowing the promos, knowing the deals, knowing people that work at every single freaking wireless company out there.
hmm
How many of those are free lines? That's what I want to know. How many of those 927,000 quote unquote net ads were free lines that someone went in to do an upgrade and they were like, "Oh, you guys are doing another free line promo? Let me add one. Let me add an eSIM or
you
whatever."
know, you know what? I'm not gonna discount that. Okay, so I'm gonna be very neutral with this one. Free lines can be contributed to most of that number, right? But
It's got to be. There's absolutely no way because if Verizon, at least from what Hans said, and this is posted by Fierce Wireless a couple days ago, Hans said
uh
that Verizon is going to post positive numbers for Q4. I'm more than willing to bet that AT&T is going to post positive numbers for Q4.
right.
Where are all of these customers coming from? They can't be coming from US Cellular. I almost guarantee you they're not coming from US Cellular because there's no way.
So so
Where are
so
all of these customers coming from?
so okay, let me ask you this question. Look at it from this standpoint. Is T-Mobile's numbers more believable now in comparison to the environment that we're in, or are the numbers unsustainable due to the fact that all three are showing growth? If if
I
they're
think
all three
some
are
states.
showing growth, then where are they coming from?
That's what I'm trying to say. Is it either these numbers are fudged, or they, or even if they are 100% legit. Let's say organically, T-Mobile managed to scrum up almost 1 million subs in a quarter.
Hmm.
That type of growth is not sustainable for a company like them, because they don't have the network assets, they don't have the employees because they keep laying people off. And
Right.
if anything, the reason why they are gaining this many subs in a quarter is because of their just insane deals. And I can almost guarantee you that there's going to be a turnaround where shareholders are like, so when's that ROI coming back? You know,
Hmm.
when's that ARPU going to start going up? And then T-Mobile's going to be like, what ARPU? What you talking about?
Well, now here's the thing. What about Verizon? Because Verizon for 2 straight quarters showed no growth at all. If they turn around and do a growth in Q4, what would be the contributing factor for them?
But their ARPU has consistently been up.
Oh no,
Their
no, I don't argue about their ARPU. No. We're not talking about that. But here's the thing: the fact that the first quarter they posted loss, they only had like 12,000 net ads for the whole quarter. That was the first bad quarter that we ended up experiencing under Hans that I remember, right?
Mhm.
It was only 12,000 because I was doing a video just like right now where I came on and did my live and I said 12,000. Somebody's head is rolling for 12,000. Like, maybe 112,000 for the nation. It would be a little bit more acceptable, but 12 total. So that's all that's the only thing I'm saying is it comes around to like if Verizon is showing net ad growth, AT&T showing net ad growth, and you got T-Mobile showing big net ad growth, where are they coming from?
They're
Is
coming from
is
Mike.
is
They're coming
Kate
from Mike Seaver's back pocket. That's what I'm saying.
all the free lines?
Yes, dude. There's no way. There's no way.
Man,
Until T-Mobile can sit there and tell me, until they can publicly come out and say what percentage of our customers are on free lines, what percentage of our home internet subscribers are returning and disconnecting the product.
uh-huh.
I don't take any of their earnings reports with any sort of weight, because those are the two big question marks that they refuse to disclose.
I respect that. I respect that. I don't think that we're ever gonna really know, but I understand where you're coming from. That look, if they started reporting like their subscriber growth minus their free lines, I think that they wouldn't be able to bolster and brag as much. But all these companies get a chance to kind of shroud it in mystery. Like we understand that you got free lines in there, but we don't know how many. But that number really does look nice.
Well,
What's
I
up,
mean,
Austin?
dude, there's people who post on Twitter. I see it all the time. Oh, I've got the T-Mobile One Plus international plan with 8 free lines. But those customers are costing you significantly more money than the customers who pay for every single line. I mean, let's say customer has 10 lines and six
Uh-huh.
of those 10 lines are free. You're losing so much money on those customers, because I can guarantee you that those 6 people that are getting free lines are using just as much as the people who are paying for them. Like,
No, you're absolutely right. But the way, see, now that we're in the middle of what I call the 5G era now, like I don't free lines is like going in and getting free samples, right? That's the way I look at it. Like you go into Costco and people got a free sampler plate for you to get for the sausages that's in the deep refrigerator in the back. You know what I mean? That's how I look at it underneath the 5G era. Now, if they were doing these type of numbers underneath 4G, then yeah, there's free lines galore. But that can become a detriment to their network because the way 4G architecture is set up. But the way that 5G architecture is set up, free lines don't do anything to your network now. And I challenge anybody to come up here and debate me on that one. Network slicing is going to make those free lines mean nothing. I mean,
they've gotta be taxing the network, like at least a little bit. Like,
well, here's the thing. They like what was it? There was an article that came out and they were talking about how T-Mobile now is in cahoots with Cisco, and Cisco has deployed their nationwide footprint for 5G and 4G. So the 5G 4G core is going through Cisco now, right? So that's going to give them the ability to start doing network slicing on a scale that's huge. And I think that now, like I was talking to PA Tech last night. I suspect that what he's experiencing is something I was experiencing a couple of months ago in DC, is that they're starting to practice the network slicing now. He said that he's able to see 3, 4, 500 megabits per second on fast and speedtest.com, but as soon as he tries to pull video, he can't. Which that seems weird, unless you're purposely isolating the two.
I don't know, brother. All I'm saying is that at some point, someone's got to pay the piper.
Somebody do. Somebody, but I don't necessarily. I think these are just good for bolstering numbers. But I don't necessarily think that we're gonna ever truly find out what's going on, right?
Which again, which is why I'm saying long term. I'm talking long term. Whether that's 2 years down the line or 10 years down the line. Eventually, this like sugar high that T-Mobile's on, they're running, they're promo. They're gonna fall flat on their face eventually. It's gonna happen.
I agree, but here's the thing. But there's got to be some. I mean, I understand that with them being the next up and coming. Do you think that there is some real growth going on?
By all means, yes.
I want to know. I want to know if there's any type of real growth. Yeah, we can talk about free lines, but I mean, the fact that their numbers are way higher than it was 3 years ago, the same quarter 3 years ago. So if we talking about before the merger, they wasn't posting almost million plus subscribers. They were like maybe 2, 3, maybe 5. I think was the highest they had before the merger. Before the merger ended, before they signed it on the dotted line. But now that everything's like all the quote unquote synergies are supposed to be coming together, I think that they gotta be seeing some type of growth somewhere.
No,
I'd love to know where.
I agree with you. I'm not discrediting T-Mobile's growth. I think that they have taken this 2-year head start that they had over Verizon and AT&T, and they've played it to their advantage. That much is very, very obvious. However, at some point, I think 2023 is going to be the year that happens, is that it's gonna the narrative is gonna start to change, because at this point these companies are very mature. There's only so much quote unquote growth that can happen within this industry. I mean, everyone and their brother has a cell phone. I know very few people who don't have a smartphone, and most of them are on one of the big 3 carriers or an MVNO. And at some point, there's going to be a slowdown, and I think that's when investors are going to be like, okay, well, where's our money? You're not pulling in the dough from new customers, and your current customers aren't really paying that much. And then we're going to start seeing T-Mobile pull the same antics
free
that
lines.
the other carriers have for the longest time. It's
They're
going to
gonna they're
be
gonna they're gonna fall back to their free line scenario.
but
Free lines for all.
no, but what I'm saying is that they're gonna start increasing prices.
Oh, I don't know, man. It doesn't fit. It
Uh,
doesn't fit for the direction that they're heading in. You know what I mean? I think that what they're gonna end up doing is they'll constantly add like another tier, but I don't think that they're gonna raise prices. Like turn around and be like, yo, your prices are going up now. I don't think they're gonna do that.
but I mean, maybe not directly, but you'll start to see the more aggressive promos fall back. You'll start to see more emphasis on whatever. I mean, they're going to have to start scaling back these just ludicrous deals where there's no way that they're making money on. Like,
Right. But hey, look on a segue tip because you had just said a couple minutes ago how like all this growth and everything and 5G is going to eventually kind of like putter out. Well, I think that we've already seen the first embers of 5G starting to fizzle out, and this happened at CES. So hold on. Ah,
oh
I'm
boy.
setting up a segue and I mess up my own segue. Can you believe that?
Uh,
So here we go.
freaking, oh jeez. All right, what are we
So
talking about here?
where was 5G at CES? So apparently CES is not like 5G is almost non-existent. And then one of the things I did for this year, so I could try to pick what I wanted to talk about from CES was what was the hype train that came out of CES, right? I didn't want to start digging into it and then all of a sudden get my opinions formulated, but there was nothing about 5G that came out of CES yet. I mean, you have Ring doing some new camera setup, and I'll probably end up talking about that a little bit later. But Ring, some nice earbuds from Sennheiser, a new truck from Dodge and Ram, but nothing 5G, dog.
And I can't say I'm surprised. I mean, think about it. The whole the whole conversation around 5G started off as this like utopian, it's going to be the game changer of game changers when it comes to, you know, wireless and IoT and smart cities and smart vehicles, smart cars, whatever you want to say.
Hmm.
And then and then 2020 happened, and we all know what happened in 2020.
Hmm.
The idea of mobility fizzled out almost completely. You know, everyone's staying home, everyone's on their couch, everyone's working
Well,
from home now.
I mean,
Eh,
even the computer, even the PC sector is suffering because people are going back to work now. Before, like in 2020, 2021, the PC side blew up because everybody was starting to buy PCs for home use, and then now they're going away from that. They're going back to their office.
exactly,
You know.
exactly. But the everyone was on the 5G hype train back in 2020 and 2019. It was, I mean, I remember just the absurd amount of training that we got on it. And then it was 2020, it was like 5G, blah, 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 blah. And then, T-Mobile had my first ever experience with 5G was activating a Galaxy S20 that was connected to T-Mobile's nationwide, quote unquote, nationwide 5G, and it was terrible. So then
Mm,
that left a sour taste in my mouth as far as, the technology goes. And then later in that year, with my OnePlus, uh,
mhm.
found some Verizon ultra wideband, the millimeter wave, and that kind of sparked my excitement around it. But then it was like, okay, well that's cool. I can have it for about quarter of a mile, and then it's gone, if that.
Right.
And then that type of experience started to really catch, with your average consumer, and people aren't excited about it anymore. It's like, well,
But they over promise and under deliver it, because the way that it was being advertised to everybody was like, oh man, you're gonna be able, the doctor is gonna be on the golf course wearing some VR whatever and be able to do surgery on your pancreas from off the golf course, right? It was like, why would I just hook in, like, go to the nearest hospital that got fiber, and if I was going to do it, just do it in there, then go back to the golf course. Why would I need to be on the golf course doing surgery? That doesn't make any sense. But that was what it was. They were just doing like a lot of over top stuff. Oh, sub millisecond pings. We're talking about near real world reactions to everything. And that's what was being advertised. Now it's like, yeah, we're good.
well,
We're okay.
and I think that the real culprit behind that is that people's usage habits, at least with their mobile devices, has not changed at all. You gotta
Right.
like what is the highest, the rate of consumption for data on most people's devices right now? It's video, whether that
Hmm.
be fixed video or video conferencing or video calling, and then that's probably shortly followed up by gaming. But even then, most of the people I know don't game on their mobile devices in a like serious matter. It's like
In
a
a
passing
serious
game or something,
competitive way. Playing what is it? Playing like Clash of Clans. I play Clash of Clans on my phone when
or
I'm waiting
Candy
for a trip,
Crush
or
or
Candy
whatever.
Crush. I don't do anything that's very super intensive, because I don't like how small the screen is in comparison. Even though I have a foldable, and I still don't like how small the screen is when it comes to like me doing something serious.
Exactly, and I'm the same way. It's like if I want to actually get immersed in a video game, or I want to get immersed in some sort of whatever, I want to be either at home at my PC or I want to be at home in front of my TV, you know? But
Well,
maybe
well, I
maybe
mean,
that'll change. Maybe it'll change. I don't know.
now here's the thing: out of CES, you're starting to see AR and VR getting a bigger push. Companies are absorbing other companies. Meta, I think Meta absorbed another company that did like VR glasses, and the glasses around VR, right? So you're starting to see a consolidation of what the VR and AR space is starting to become, because those were one of the things that I did see from the CES floor, was a lot of VR, AR. Like, what was it? HTC has a new, more compacted version of VR, right? Instead of those big old helmets that you were wearing before, now the computers are getting smaller and faster. So those are starting to show up now. So we're talking about being able to soon eventually be able to plug your phone into some VR glasses and be on the go. Maybe. I don't know. Oh, what's going on, Gene? What's up?
What up, Gene?
But
I think
I just think
the
I just
AR
think
VR
that
thing has been stagnant too, though.
it's been stagnant because it's not realistic. Like, I don't necessarily think that anybody made any big promises about VR and AR. It was just that the hype train that was trying to be preceded wasn't as big. And then now you can start, you like, I was looking at the keynote speech for AMD. So AMD had a presence at CES, and then now they're, for starters, they're starting to work with what was it, Magic Leap. And Magic Leap was one of the most serious companies behind, even before Meta and everybody else. Magic Leap was like getting approved. Like, we're talking about like what is it called? Commercial viability for like medical use. So they're actually getting, pushing to get into the actual medical field, and AMD's partnering with them to be able to do so. So it's starting to gain that traction that we've been looking for, but it's still slow. You know what I mean?
But again, you got to remember too
Oh,
the
thank you,
the
Gene.
the the uh the conversation around AR and VR has to start with your average consumer. HTC has pushed enterprise and business and education as like their main focus point for the last
Yeah.
3 or 4 years, and nobody has any clue what they're doing or what their pace is on that kind of stuff. The only company that's doing anything AR/VR related that you and I can actually see potentially is Meta. And as we
Yeah.
all know, Meta's AR/VR implementation has really not gained them any sort of favor in the eyes of the general public. I mean, their releases have been pretty laughable, to be
Look,
honest.
they what was it? The the most exciting thing they had was adding legs to your avatar. Like I mean, it was like the biggest thing on the internet. Oh my god, I can see my legs on my avatar. This is awesome. But the thing is it comes back around to like how do you quantify the information to somebody that says this is going to eventually be something that's going to be useful for you in the coming future? It's hard to do. It was the same problem that 5G was. How do you tell somebody that the cell phone in their pocket is going to become more powerful, more everything, but really the technology wasn't really geared towards the user. It was geared towards the operators. I mean, you have to understand, all the shortcomings that we saw with LTE right now, 5G fixes a lot of them. So basically, we went from 4G to 5G, but it was more of a hype train to convince network operators to adopt to it, not users to adopt. How do you
No, I absolutely agree with you. I think it was
like
all a hype
like
train.
take AT&T right now? AT&T doesn't really feel a need to really expand into 5G. They're like, I'm good.
Well, yeah, and that partially has to do with the fact that the majority of their wireless growth, it directly coincides with their wireline growth. Like
Right,
100%. It does. Like you can't tell me that AT&T all of a sudden got this government handout to build out fiber, and then they send these door-to-door people out to people's houses after they sign up for fiber, basically begging them to switch over to AT&T for their wireless phones. Granted, it makes a
right,
lot of sense, like for people to sign up for that wireless service when you bundle or whatever. But still,
right,
as far as AT&T is concerned, their main objective is going to be to build out their wireline network and then be surgical with their additional capacity adds on the wireless side in areas where they see a lot of adoption, which makes sense. It makes perfect sense. Like the John Stankey, the CEO of AT&T, freaking
hmm
genius. His strategy is absolutely, it makes so much sense.
yeah. Gene says overseas countries have had 5G for years, and we are very slow to implementing it. The reason why, now understand, if it was still four carriers, like if it was the AT&T, Verizon at the top, and T-Mobile and Sprint at the bottom, it would be we would not see 5G anything for at least another 3 to 4 years. It was because of the competition that actually got us at least only a handful of years behind other countries right now. It was that competition is driving it faster now.
Plus,
That's that's just from my point of view anyway.
you got to remember that the US is significantly larger, like exponentially larger than a lot of these other countries that have these really dense, fast, you know, very, very diverse 5G networks.
Yeah,
Like South Korea, who's been a poster child for their 5G networks. Japan, even countries in Europe, whether it's, I mean, the UK is kind of meh, but like other countries where they have a significantly smaller landmass to cover, it's it's so much easier to continue to densify your network because you don't have to worry about covering Jim Bob's farm in the middle of nowhere where there's one cell site every 8 miles. You
well,
know,
hey, and understand Jim Bob's tractor is going to be running on 5G too, so he could just, instead of him riding around in it, he's going to set it and forget it. And all those and
exactly.
those carriers want to be part of that implementation. But
Uh,
to answer Gene question, do I think that AT&T will consolidate their wireless business? I don't think so. It's just that it's not gonna be the flash and bang and glitz and glamour like what you're seeing from T-Mobile and Verizon. Like right now, like Verizon is literally trying to regain the top spot, right? And I don't necessarily think that Verizon ever lost the top spot, but they do feel the pressure now. And T-Mobile's like, yo, we're going for the number one right now. We can, even though we are the smallest of the three. But yeah, AT&T is not going to be like, oh yeah, are y'all doing fireworks for every time you put a new antenna up? Nah, we're good. We're good. We'll just put the antenna up.
No, I don't see AT&T really. I don't see them consolidating their wireless business at all. They may streamline it for sure, but I think that they will become more surgical with their network. They're not gonna massively deploy C-band overnight like Verizon has been doing,
No,
or deploy N41 overnight like T-Mobile's been doing. But I do see them maybe slowing down or de-emphasizing their 5G network in terms of like capex, because the fiber, not only are they getting government bucks for that, but th- they're also seeing a better return or a better adoption rate from their customers. So
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think that they are going to start focusing more on their fiber side as much as their wireless side. The problem is AT&T suffered from the problem of being distracted. They had too many squirrel moments for too long. You know, oh, we need Warner Brothers squirrel. We need Dish. I mean not Dish. We need Direct TV squirrel. Like you had too many of those moments that now they need to turn around and actually focus on whatever their core is. And wireless is going to be their core, and fiber is going to be their core.
yeah, and the fiber,
AT&T has horrible. He
the
said
fiber's
AT&T
paying
has horrible
off.
wireless service.
Wireless service?
Yeah,
Bro, I have to disagree with you, man. I'm sorry, Gene. AT&T by far has been the most consistent and the most reliable for me, especially in areas where it gets a little bit dicey in terms of coverage.
but here's the thing. I think that is just like it's the same. It's the same exact way you could say about how like T-Mobile is. So I'm in Washington D.C. and T-Mobile is like impeccable, right? But then you go to your neck of the woods and they're iffy and spotty, or you go to like different places in America is good for different services. Even for me, like when I went back home, I put AT&T up against US Cellular. You saw that US Cellular was like way behind what AT&T was doing. So, but AT&T is for for them to be a national carrier and as old as they are, they're very, very inconsistent. Where Verizon is very consistent across the board. They're almost the same in the marshes as they are in the city. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
That it's that level of consistency across the board. Like I don't expect 200 megabits per second everywhere, but I expect a certain level of service across. Like if I go from the swamplands of Nowheresville, Virginia, to the city of Pittsburgh, what is it like across the board? That's how I think of it anyway.
No, and
They
again, you're
they
gonna
spun it
run.
off. They spun
Yeah,
it off. Yeah, they didn't sell it. They spun it off, so they don't have to report it on their sheets. They still own like I think 70% of it.
let's see what do you say. But after 5 years with AT&T, my friend switched to T-Mobile. Yeah, and that's it's one of those things that you know if they're not paying as much attention to your market, and T-Mobile is, by all means switch.
Oh yeah,
I
hey,
always
it comes.
emphasize when I talk about wireless stuff. Whatever your personal quarrels are with a company, like you could hate AT&T, you could hate Verizon, you could hate T-Mobile, but you're better off going with a company that you may dislike if they have better service than going with a company that you maybe don't love but you like them better than another. It, you know, I don't know. I don't understand why people have these like personal grudges against wireless operators. At the end of the day, they're just providing a service. Like, if it doesn't work
You
for
know,
you, so what? Like,
you
go
want to
somewhere
know
else.
you want to know why they have personal grudges? I'm telling you, this is the reason why. Because when you're sitting there and you're like, you've been told that, hey, this is the best service, this is the best service, this is going to be the best service for you from whoever you being sold to, and then all of a sudden it's that grandma's house where your service is not working. You feel like you got had. You know what I mean? You feel like, yo, I'm invested, and then you already get like five billing cycles in, and you don't, and switching doesn't seem viable no more. You're under contract. You got the new iPhone, and now you got to wait 2 years before you can even think about leaving. These things is actually what bothers people.
I guess. I'm under this is just the way that I look at it. Is if I'm going to sign up for an operator, I want to make sure that they're good enough before I switch. And I've always I took a shot with AT&T when I switched to them, and I was pleasantly surprised, and I've been
Mhm.
happy with them since I switched. But I've always tried them first in some fashion before
Right.
I've made a switch.
Well, you see,
And
here's the thing. As a tech person, and I don't know why in the tech community this doesn't get pushed out as much, but like Gene saying he's on prepaid, right? But my question to people is, why don't you just buy the SIM? I mean, don't go buy your phone separately. Don't finance your phone through the carrier. Buy your phone separately and have the freedom to be able to move where you want to, and that way that you don't feel like you're locked in. I'm surprised that a lot more people don't do that. There's all these avenues to be able to try stuff. Hey, leave yourself room to be able to grow.
oh, 100%. And again, I am under the strict this is just the way that I have always been. Never finance your phones through a carrier ever. Just don't
True.
do it. Just don't do it unless you are already happy with the service. Like, please, for the love of God, buy your
I
phones
agree.
unlocked.
Hey, look,
Try out your
a
carriers.
dangerous customer to a carrier is the one that brings their phone to the carrier, because
Ex-
that means that you are not beholden to them.
exactly.
Like
And
they don't have anything they can entice you with. They don't have anything to hold over your head. They don't have anything they can do to keep you from just rolling out and porting your number over to somebody else,
other than pricing. Other
other
than
than
pricing.
pricing. Right. And
Which
then they have to compete on price.
exactly. And you know what has been just glaringly obvious for me, at least until I came back from since I've come back from Europe. In
What's
Europe,
that?
prices are low across the board, extremely low.
Mm,
And do you know why? Because nobody signs contracts with carriers. And even if they do, the EU regulates and mandates that those phones are unlocked.
wow.
I actually went to when I was in where was I? I was in Oxford, and I stopped and I talked to I talked to the store manager at what store was it? I think it was EE. It's
Yeah.
one of their main carriers over there. Um, and I was talking to him. I was asking him some of the regulations and stuff, and like how their phones work, how the contracts work. And I was like, so if I sign this contract, are you locking customers in? Because they were like 36-month contracts. He's like, no. EU regulation says we can't lock the phones. So you're really just signing up for a reduced rate cost and guaranteeing service for that amount of time, along with like a device subsidy. So it, it is pro-consumer for people to stop signing up for these contracts with carriers, but nobody does it because the information for people, for your average consumer, is just not there. Nobody knows how that all
Yeah.
works.
I mean, and especially here in America, I was saying in America, man, everything is geared towards locking you down, because, like, even like what is it? eSIM was blocked by Verizon and AT&T for a long time, and then I think like they lost some court battle. That's the reason why you start to see it become more prevalent now. Um, Everything's about keeping you locked in. Everything.
Exactly.
And believe me when I tell you, there's no legislation coming from uh any government, state and local, that's gonna change that fact right now. It, it's a business model to lock you down and
And
then
that's
lock
it's
that
very
device down too.
it's very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate the limitations that we have here as consumers, which is wild because you think about it and it's like you think it'd be the opposite, but at the end of the day, like people need to first of all they need to try the wireless service provider that they're interested in, which you can do for free on every single carrier right now.
You can do it for free on every single carrier right now. That is very true. The
And
problem
even
is a lot of people will not do it.
exactly,
A lot of
and
people, a lot of people don't even know it. Like I have conversations with my Uber customers and tell them, "Hey, look, you know what? You could try other services for free." And they go, "Really?" Like it's not being pushed. I mean, I don't even T-Mobile's not really pushing their 3 months free trial as much as I thought they would. I
which
would have thought
surprise
that they
which
would be advertising that thing to high hell.
yeah, which surprises me because if I drive out through rural areas out here, I see a lot of billboards, like traditional billboards that say T-Mobile covering blah 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 percent of this county and 99% of people in America, but they don't advertise the trial. Like people aren't going to try your network unless they know that it's available. And it just it always surprises me when I see them advertising their network but not giving people that option to switch or not even switch but try the network before they switch. I don't know. It seems like a poor marketing decision by them to not emphasize that more. But, you
Hey,
know,
EM, do you know about this part? Because Gene said overseas, no carrier can lock your phone even if your bill, like you just said that. So if your bill
overseas,
is past due,
even if you're past due, like here, if your bill is past due, they lock your phone until it's paid in full. Yeah, that it gets tricky when you're talking about carrier locking policies here. The only two carriers that can legally lock your phone are AT&T and T-Mobile. Verizon is obligated per FCC agreements back when they got the 700 megahertz back in what 2008 that they're
mm-hmm,
not allowed to lock devices at all. Now the reason they have the 60-day lock policy on their devices now is because back in 2019 they basically went to the FCC and said, "Hey, we need at least a probationary period because we're seeing a lot of fraud." And they were granted that to curb fraud, but technically, legally, Verizon can't lock their devices past 60 days. AT&T and
mm,
T-Mobile, that is true that they can lock down your devices no matter what, which is unfortunate.
well, America, you gotta understand, it's free reign for your pockets. Keep you locked down, put bricks in your pockets. But hey, on a side tangent, I want to know from your idea. So at CES, new display technologies were being showed off. So everything from portable televisions with batteries in them to, you name it, it has a screen on it, right? So here you go. So LG is demonstrating their foldable screen tech and hopefully coming to a cell phone near you real soon. So LG showing off its latest OLED can bend in both directions.
Ooh,
Yes. Now here's the thing: as a person who has the Fold 4, the Fold 3, and the Fold 2, I prefer the screen on the outside. So across, like right here, if people can see, the screen on the right is the outside folding, but they were showing that it could flex in and out, right?
mm-hmm.
But for me, I prefer my screen on the outside, where on Samsung they fold on the inside.
I still just do not understand the appeal to these folding phones.
What do you
Like,
mean?
dude, I had the Z Flip 3,
Uh-huh.
loved it. Absolutely loved it. It was a great phone. I would have kept it if the S22 Ultra hadn't come out. But like even carrying around that phone, I was still more paranoid about it than like any of the other phones that I have.
Do you
Like,
know that I'm more paranoid about my phone due to the outside screen than I am of the folding capability? Like the folding capability don't bother me. It's the outside screen that still has that Gorilla Glass on it that I worry about because I did crack my Fold 3 outside screen. 'Cause I dropped it, and it dropped in the worstest way, right there on the edge, and it sends that crack all the way up the side, right? But the inside screen, I haven't had no problems on all three different generations. So I
really
have the Fold 2, the 3, and the 4, and I haven't had any issues with the folding screen itself. It's the outside screen I worry about.
interesting.
That outside screen that they're trying to let you be able to do a little something here, a little something there without having to open the whole phone up. That worries me more than anything because it still uses the same traditional Gorilla Glass or Gorilla Glass Victus or whatever new Gorilla Glass that comes out. Because apparently it's not that good, no matter what generation it is. It still can break. But the thing is me personally, we might start seeing and maybe an iPhone in the future coming with the foldable screen.
Man, I still don't I don't see it. I don't see the viability of it. I
You know,
really
I
don't.
I had some older ladies in the car, and this older lady said this best. She said these exact words. I love. She had a Fold 2. Okay, she had the
Okay.
number 2. She said these words in my car. I love my phone because when I really want to start reading, I can open it up. So that means that when she's like browsing or whatever, doing like ordering an Uber, she keeps it closed. But when she's like sitting there and wants to really read, she can open her phone up, and then bam, you got a full on tablet.
See, that part of it I do like. Like that part of it I do see is the reading aspect, having the bigger screen available to you when you need it is very nice.
Right.
But
Hey,
I don't know. I'm still impartial to it.
oh man, you got to find that use case. I don't necessarily think the use case is going to come from like a single screen folded phone. I think it's nice, like when we go on, the nostalgia of being able to click it closed to make the hang up, right? That's from the Razor era, right? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
As a person who had a Razor, you just like I don't feel like talking to you no more. Click, and you hung up on the person by slamming it closed. That type of nostalgia, it wears off after a while because when you want to do something, like anything you really want to do on your phone, you got to constantly open it, right? You need to send a text message, you got to flip it open. You want to check to see what the weather is, you got to flip it open. Even that little screen on the front that so you don't have to flip it open to see what time it is not as useful. Where if you got the Fold 4 or something equivalent, I could take my phone out of my pocket, look and see what's going on, and then I'll put my phone back in my pocket. I could flip back and forth, and then when I really want to do something, all I gotta do is just be like, all right, cool, I'm getting ready to play Clash of Clans. Click, I open it all the way up, and I'm gonna give me a couple rounds in, and then I'll close it.
Y Yeah, and I think maybe I would be a little bit more drawn to the foldable if the I think that the aspect ratio of the Samsung phone is still a little goofy. Like, yeah, there's what is it, the Oppo Find N, that phone?
Oh, I've
It's a
seen that, and it's perfect.
it's a little bit shorter, it's a little bit fatter, but it allows the outer screen to be just a little bit wider, which I think
Yes.
does them a lot. It does a lot in terms of increasing the usable uh usability of that outer display.
Where the Samsung Fold is more like a candy bar. It's a long, real tall phone with the folding screen in a weird aspect ratio, right? I understand where you're coming
Exactly.
from. Because when I want to watch a full screen, I have to do a couple of extra steps to get it go full screen.
Yeah, and I'm just not a huge fan of the skinny aspect ratio, and even watching like full screen video on that outer display or even the inner display, there's a lot of wasted space on the inside, and the outer display just looks goofy because it's so tall. So maybe if a company can come out with something that sort of, well, one is available to the US, but two kind of works on that part of it, I'll be a little bit
Hmm.
more inclined. But right now I'm just like on the fence. I'm like, you know, who knows? Maybe we'll see something in the future. Maybe we won't. I can't. I can't.
Maybe I just think that I know that folding phones are coming, man. I mean, look, the thing is which company is gonna outside of Samsung is gonna end up moving into this market? That's the question. That's
I
how
think
I
it.
look at it anyway.
I think it's going to be Google. I think Google's going to be the next one, and I'm very excited for that because, as I've told you before, my experience with the Pixel 7 has been just amazing, absolutely amazing.
Oh no, I totally believe that. I just feel like when it comes to Google and Samsung, Google is doing everything it can not to piss Samsung off, and for them to get into a foldable phone would be like, yo, we're willing to tread into your waters now. That's how I look at it. It's like, yo, we're gonna get to the place where we're gonna finally start challenging you, said company. Yeah, you're one of our biggest like vendors, but it's time to start stepping the game up. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. Hey, the Pixel phones have the better software, but they just didn't have the bigger screen that I wanted. That was the problem. I chose screen real estate over software. That was just me.
That's true, and I do like some of the features that the Dex has. I really
Yeah.
do. Um, but again, we just really haven't had enough development in that space yet, which I think is coming, and I think could be a good tie-in to the way that, you know, 5G might be able to help, especially with higher bandwidth and better applications for mobile use. But
Well, you know
again,
what?
we're so hit and miss again.
You know what? Here you go. So, speaking of like decks and portability, so I found this article a couple of days ago, and apparently the Lenovo is planning on doing what Apple is not, right? So here you go. So this is something that I've got on Apple about and why they haven't gone this route yet. Hold on. So Lenovo goes where no iPad Pro dares to go yet. Because why? People want the iPad Pro, but they want it to be a laptop also. As you can see,
Oh,
this is something that Lenovo is starting to dabble with because I mean these tablets are just as powerful as laptops now. Low grade laptops. If you just wanted to get an entry level laptop, you just get yourself a tablet now.
wait, is that so it's a Lenovo keyboard attachment for the iPad Pro?
Is that what it? I don't know if that's what it is. I think this is
That's what that looks like.
that's what it looks like.
Let's see.
No. This is a competitor. So this
There's
is Lenovo's Tab Extreme as a iPad Pro competitor with a Magic Keyboard clone or adjustable keyboard to go along with it.
Oh, snap. Okay. It just looks really similarly designed to an iPad Pro. That's why I was confused for a second. Okay, I
Yeah,
see.
I mean they putting USB-C all around the thing. There's something that I've always said that iPad, like people want an iPad, but they want that desktop experience, right? They don't like what's the purpose of carrying around this powerful device where I can only do one thing?
Oh, wow. I'm just looking at this. This thing looks identical to an iPad Pro. That's
It does.
insane.
It does.
And wow. And the dock feature looks exactly like an iPad. This thing looks pretty slick. Two
Oh
USB-C
yeah.
ports. Let's see what else. Let me read this.
All right, I'm gonna leave it right there.
Or no, I'm on I'm on an Ars Technica article. Sorry.
Okay.
So this thing can be one port is a Type C 3.2 Gen 1 for display out, and then the other is for display port in. Tablet can either be a monitor or power another monitor with Android.
Mm.
And this okay, well this is where it starts to get a little oh yeah, bring us back down to earth. It's a Lenovo product. The
No,
SoC
that's what.
is a MediaTek Dimensity 9000. And let's see. So it's the same generation as the 8 Gen 1. Tablet has 12 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of storage, 12,300 milliamp hour battery, and 68-watt fast charging. And it's Wi-Fi 6E compatible. Oh, okay. Well, maybe other than the fact that it's using a MediaTek SoC, I see a lot of potential here. Like everything
Well,
else is phenomenal.
hey, look. I mean, that's the thing. A lot of people like they want that desktop experience, but it's all being dictated to them via like, hey, look, this is what you're gonna get, and then that's it.
Well, and that's been Apple's biggest problem. Like the iPads are the most inconsistent product line that they offer, yet it's their most popular. Like my M1 iPad Pro has the same chipset as my MacBook, but my MacBook can utilize that power significantly better than the freaking iPad can. Like I almost don't
Right.
touch I haven't touched my iPad in like multiple weeks because
Well, I was reading another article where they were talking about like what is it the iPhone SE might be getting discontinued. So this is what I'm saying. Like these lesser products that Apple was doing before are being discontinued because I think that they're being forced to consolidate now. The consolidation of their line is starting.
I
You
mean, I
can't
think
you can't keep putting out that type of stuff that distract you over here, distract you over there, and people are gonna be like, yo, I don't want this.
well, and in all fairness to Apple, I think the iPhone S well, actually no, take it back. The reason the iPhone SE is seeing probably less traction is because there's been so many competitive offers on the higher end iPhones compared to the SE. I mean the like you can go right now, you can get a free iPhone 14 or a free iPhone 13 from any carrier, sometimes
Hmm.
without even needing a trade-in. So why would you even bother with the cheaper model iPhones? It the There's less of a need, especially with these very aggressive carrier subsidies for a cheaper iPhone. The traction is just not there, quite frankly.
No, I agree. I just think that the premise behind a lot of it is starting to change. It's getting to the place where how can I say it? It's getting to the place where people's expectation level, like if the iPad is the highest selling product behind the iPhone right now, then what about the MacBook Air? People don't see the MacBook Air as viable no
I
more.
disagree. That's one of that
So
is easily one of the best selling uh laptops on the market.
I don't know, man. Because look, I just recently, so both my brother and my sister called me up on the phone and was like, "Look, I need your help picking out a laptop." And guess what? One of the first things they said to me that the laptop had to have a touch screen. I need to be able to touch the screen.
Yeah.
And these are people who, when it comes to like tech, I don't see them as like keeping up with tech the way I do. And for the first thing that they needed for their computer to have was to have a touchscreen.
I
So
mean,
if you don't think that people really want to be able to have a touchscreen now?
oh no, that's my biggest complaint about my MacBook is the fact that it doesn't have a touchscreen.
You got a touch bar.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I have the Air, so it's no touchscreen at
Oh
all.
no. Hey, let me ask
So,
you this question. Let me ask you this question then. How many times have you touched the screen by accident?
um, I personally don't do it that much because I really do like the trackpad on the MacBook. Like I think it compensates enough for its lack of a touchscreen. But it would be
Uh-huh.
nice. It would be really nice if it had the same maneuverability that my iPad Pro does. But Apple's in a tough spot because if they incorporate a touchscreen to the MacBook, it's going to kill the iPad sales. And if they don't, they're going to continue to lose market share from people who want or need that touchscreen.
Right. I agree.
Like
I
my
just
my
I just think that instead of going ahead and get ahead of the problem, I feel like they're gonna just wait until the problem festers long enough that they're gonna eventually get forced into it.
I
Why? Like my
I, I
thing is
agree.
why wait? Why wait when you automatically have people's hearts and minds? You might as well just go ahead and say, "Hey, look, people, this is where we're going." But I'm not a CEO of a multi-trillion-dollar company, so obviously I don't know what's best.
Well, and every company's fallen flat on their faces when it comes to these newer products that they've tried. I mean, Dex has been a thing since what, the Note 9, and it still
Yeah,
is very, very elementary. You know, Dex never took
very.
off. Uh, like Samsung has tried. They've tried and they've tried and they've tried. And as cool and as unique and as like quirky as that feature is, I personally really, really like it. I think it offers a lot of awesome potential, use cases.
Right.
People just don't really care. You know? It's
No, no, I understand.
it's the same thing like where Apple has a problem is that people do care. People do want a touch screen on the MacBook, and the people who want it are very vocal about it. And it's going
But
to
they're
take
being
them.
but they're being ignored. You could be vocal, but I mean, if other segments, like if other people who are not even Apple users, and the first thing they come to me and say, "Hey, look, I need this to be a tablet also. I need that portability, but I need that power too." Which means that who offers the portability and power? Windows
Yeah,
versus I can only be portable or I could be only powerful.
exactly. I agree with you 100%. And I don't see this whole uh let's offer, you know, uh stage manager as uh your one-stop shop where uh you're gonna have to buy an iPad to get the touchscreen capable features, you know,
Mhm.
to work side by side with your MacBook. Like I don't know who Apple's trying to appease when they offer these things, because I know dang well there's no college kid that can afford to buy a uh a $600 iPad Air or a $1,000
Mhm.
iPad Pro on top of spending $750 to $1,500 on an iPad, like
That
or
yeah.
a MacBook. Like they're trying very, very hard. Again, Apple will do anything to not offer what people want. It's the same
But here's the
same
thing.
situation with USB-C.
But here's the crazy thing. But they offered what people really wanted in a smartphone, and it took off. So it's like they listen, now they're going, well, we don't care. Like, remember, like they read here as a person who is not an Apple enthusiast, okay? I have to look at the whole smartphone era being launched by Apple, right? Everybody wanted a smartphone. I had the Pocket PC, it was a Windows phone, and I had different other cell phones that was trying to be like the everything phone, right? And then Apple came out with the iPhone, and it blew the doors off of everybody else's. You see what I'm saying? So there was like them coming into a market and was like, hey, this is what we see our rendition of a phone is. Takes off. They become like the cornerstone of what like everything was gonna be the next iPhone killer, right? For 5 years after the iPhone comes out, it was always like, ooh, this is gonna be the iPhone killer. This is gonna be the iPhone killer. So now Apple is missing the mark all over again, where they're basically saying that, hey, we got two products that are separate, but instead of merging those two products together, we're just going to sit back and wait, when they could easily just take over the market and literally set the standard.
I just don't think Apple's really in the they're not in the business to do that anymore, especially because they've been caught with their pants down a couple times trying to standardize something that nobody wants to actually use.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I don't know,
But,
bro.
hey, look, on a side tangent, I wish No Radio was here because he's my go-to person when it comes to wireless headphones. But I know that you use different brands too. So
I do.
you know Sennheisers. I am a novice when it comes to, at best, when it comes to wireless earbuds. I have a whole bunch of Samsung earbuds, but I never really branched out like that to get some. But I might now buy some Sennheisers because of this. So at CES, they announced some new Sennheisers, some new ones. And when I say some new ones,
they 5G capable?
well, I wouldn't go that far just yet. I wouldn't go that far. But these Sennheisers are like hearing aids built in.
Oh.
So this is something that me and No Radio prelude to, because what was it, last year, and it was like middle of last year, the FDA announced that you can get over the market over the market
hearing aids?
Hearing aids.
Yeah, you don't have to go through
you don't
through
have to go
insurance
get a
anymore.
prescription. So now I was like, well, this is a prime opportunity for all these earbuds makers to finally get into a market where people like my father, he fumbles with these things all the time. This one doesn't work, that one doesn't work, this, that, it's just terrible, right? Now Sennheiser is first to the market from the looks of it, is getting ready to come out with these buds that are going to be like hearing aid across the counter, like right here, hearing aid without a prescription.
I think that's a very, very smart move, because all these companies have fantastic noise isolation, fantastic transparency mode. They have good audio engineers that they employ, and they invest a lot of money into it. But it's very exciting, because for the longest time, that portion of the market has been just dominated by private companies. And as someone who used to have to set up hearing aids for people on their smartphones and had to walk old people through how to do it, and had to repair headphones or hearing aids to their new smartphones, all of those companies, albeit probably pretty established in the hearing aid marketplace, were not up to date on their technologies. And
well, because you know what? Because when you knew that other technologies couldn't filter into your market, you get stagnant, right? But now you're talking about being like companies like Sony and Jabra and Bose these players are starting to show up now, and they were already dabbling with it before. We're talking about like one of the annoyance with earbuds for me was that closed off feeling that we all experience, right? Because it does this weird suction cup to your ear, and then now you can't hear anything outside of it. And then you want to have a conversation with somebody, you got to dig into your ear and pull out the earbud just so you can talk to somebody.
Hmm.
Now they made it weird. I was like, somebody had told me, was like, oh yeah, they solved that problem a long time ago. All you gotta do is put on ambient mode, and then you put on ambient mode, you can hear everything around you. Now, granted, it uses a lot more juice to do that, but now you add ambient mode on top of hearing aid mode, probably. Conversation. Look, it says here it's called Conversation Clear Plus.
Yeah,
Now,
for like it's
Sennheiser's, yeah,
like an extended transparency mode, right?
right. So advanced speech enhancement technology. So we're not even talking about just, oh, I can hear the outside world. I'm talking about like I could, like, for me as a person who's like in a Google Meet at the same time I'm driving people around, I have to like pick and choose which ear I want to use depending on how rowdy everything gets, because even with the transparency mode, it I can tell that I might miss a couple of words, and somebody might be asking me a question. If I had these Sennheisers, guess what? I could easily just be like, "Oh, you're talking to me? Okay, bam," and I could hear the conversation a whole lot better without having to dig in my ear and pull the earbuds out.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
might be buying these, man. Look, No Radio's been a Sennheiser like the evangelistic person about these, so for them to come out with this, and I saw this on the digital trends, and CES announced it. I knew that I had to talk about it today. So I wasn't sure how you might have felt about it, but this is huge.
no, I'm a huge proponent of expanding anything that involves opening up healthcare solutions outside of the traditional insurance and traditional ways of doing things. I'm all for it.
Right.
So, probably not going to be for me, but I think it's a really cool option, especially because I have family members that are pretty hard of hearing already that
Oh yeah.
could take
If
advantage of
it's
stuff like that.
for me personally, if I get a chance, I'm a buy these for myself and see if how they work. And if they work good, I'm gonna suggest to my father. My father's hard of hearing right now, right? And you know, he every time we go around here, we got to yell. We got yeah, almost yell down the hallway just to say hi. You know what I mean? It's annoying, but if this can improve his hearing even a little bit, I'll spend the money for it for him.
Did they release an MSRP for those?
I don't know. I'm probably gonna have to go back in and look. I think they announced it at CES, but I don't think that they. No, wait. So here you go. The Conversation Plus Clear Plus might be a hefty $850. I don't know. This might be the price, but I've never owned a pair of Sennheiser headphones before either. But it's saying pre-order is January 5th, and it goes on sale January 20th.
Gotcha. Because I'm just looking at because one of the retailers that jumped on some sort of like alternative hearing aid solution, basically like right away, was Best Buy.
Uh-huh.
Best Buy carries a ton of third party brands now
Mm,
that they sell in their stores, and I'm just looking at like their pricing in terms of like alternative hearing aid solutions, and like they have a model by Jabra that goes for like $800.
dang.
So I mean, but comparatively to like what traditional hearing aids cost, I'd be willing to bet that's pretty cheap.
Right. Hey, what's up, PA?
Oh,
I mean,
what
I
up,
don't know how
Josh?
much hearing aids normally go for. So I'm not gonna
Sure.
act like I know what the market is or what is not. But I didn't know that if you add these features in, it was gonna start driving it up. The most I've spent on earbuds is about $200, and
Yeah, just
that was the Galaxy Pro 2. that just recently came out.
Here, I'll just give you kind of a rough idea. So Sony has theirs called the Sony. They call them the Sony ITE self-fitting over-the-counter hearing aids. Those are $1,300. And then there's a company called Eargo that has their retail price on them is $2,950. So like there's a pretty large range. I'm guessing that these will probably sit somewhere in the market of like $700 to $1,000. That
Right.
seems to be where like these traditional headphone companies like Jabra and Sony and even HP, it looks like they're coming out with one too. It looks like those ones are around $700 to $1,000. But still, if it's able to like help people who may not necessarily need like a full blown hearing aid solution, but just maybe have hard time picking up conversation or in different environments may have hard time isolating conversation, I think that that's a huge win.
Right. I think so.
But I'm all in on AirPods, man. As many as terrible as that sounds for someone who's into tech, I think that the AirPods are some of the best wireless earbuds out there. And I don't think anyone's
Really?
gotten close.
Now, here's the thing: as a person who's been on this journey for enlightenment, you could say that I've been using my iPhone with these AirPods. I would honestly say that pairing wise and ease of use, I give it to Apple as long as it's within their own product line.
Oh yeah,
Once
using them with an Android phone, don't even try.
yeah, I tried. I was like, nah, we good. But I understand I have 4 different Android phones, and I was like, all right, so I got my Sony, not my Sony's, my Bluetooth headphones that I have from Samsung. Man, I open that thing up, all 4 phones click in and go, hey, use me, use me, use me. But when I turn on the iPhone one, it goes, yeah, where's your iPhone at? it literally goes, I don't like those phones. I like the iPhone. Good. Give me my iPhone.
Although, speaking of that, it's funny because I do have my my AirPods paired to my Samsung and my Pixel. And if I have my AirPods paired up to my my Pixel, it'll like snag the Pixel before it even gives it a chance to connect to the iPhone. Like it prefers the Pixel sometimes, which I thought was really interesting. But no, I'm still a huge proponent of Apple. I think that as many audio enthusiasts will lambaste me for saying this, I think the AirPods Max are some of the best headphones, over the ear headphones I've ever tried. As stupid as I think they are,
Man, those things are expensive though.
They're expensive.
I agree.
The lightning cable on them is very stupid. But the audio, the noise canceling on them and the transparency mode are leaps and bounds better than any like mid-range, what I would consider mid-range like wireless pair of headphones. Like if you compare
But
them
you
to
know what?
the Sonys or the Bose, Apple may come in at a higher price point, but they perform so much better.
But you know what? Here's the thing. This is the opportunity for Apple to get into another healthcare line with their earbuds, because if you got Sennheisers getting ready to try to do enhanced talk, what's going to happen with the AirPods or the AirPods Pro? Or it's going to, anything you can do to enhance people's abilities. I think that people are going to start buying them up.
No, and I know a lot of people who do, because like right now, if I don't know if you knew this, Keon, but the AirPods have a feature built in where it's an accessibility feature. You go in and you turn it on. It's called live listening. So what you can do is, for someone who may be hard of hearing, they put their AirPods in, you go in and you turn on live listening. And if like we're sitting at, like, let's say you and me are sitting at the mall at a table and there's a lot of background noise, I can hand you my phone, place it close to you, and it'll basically amplify the sound coming in through the microphone on the iPhone, and then I would be able to hear you a lot clearer.
Oh wow.
So that like Apple's already done that, but I think that with this sort of opening up the hearing market to private companies, it would give them an opportunity to kind of emphasize that, especially since the Apple Watch has been such a
True.
success.
I mean,
My
the go ahead, Brandon.
my grandpa actually saw me have AirPods, and he was like, "Hey, where could I get those? Those look really cool. Like for me, for him to actually hear and stuff like that, because he has like one of those hearing things on his ear, and I told him, oh well, they're at the store, but they're $160, but I don't recommend it because they only last in your ear for 3 or 4 hours,
Right.
and he needs like headphones. I mean, like something that will keep his ear going for at least 12 to 14 hours.
See, that's the thing. The battery life is where they're
The
diminishing, right?
battery
So
life is
so
the worst.
if you turn off like ambient mode on my earbuds, but my Samsung earbuds, right? They'll go for like 8 hours. But I need them on, and they'll only work for like 5 or 6 hours. So I lose where I do gain that functionality, but I lose battery life. They're gonna have to come up with something where it can still do these features, but be able to still get decent battery life out of these things. Because if you're gonna
Right.
substitute some of these already brand like all these brands, they've been working on watch battery size batteries for a long time.
Like one of the things I wish Apple could actually do with the AirPods, because I actually do talk on the phone
Uh-huh.
forever, is fix the battery life on the top. Because I mean, there's some people. I mean, I know that most people don't talk on the phone anymore, but you have some people that will talk on the phone for hours.
Oh, I'm one of those people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm one of those
Hey,
people
look,
too.
with me and you and all like a couple of us in these Google Meets, like I switch back and forth between earbuds. I can't have both of them in at the same time. But even like these buds will die even faster. Yeah, you charge them up, they'll charge up pretty quick, but they die just as fast.
Oh,
So I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, it's if they're going to ever start breaking into this, it's going to have to be the battery life is going to have to improve, and the functionality is going to have to improve right along with it.
but I mean, it actually sucks for somebody that actually FaceTimes a lot, and then those that actually do like meetings and stuff like that.
Oh,
Because
I mean, think of how many times have we been in Google Meets and I'm like, oh, hold on, let me switch my AirPods. One of them died.
We
I
all
feel like
done that.
it happens all the time when I'm talking to you guys.
dude,
Well, you know
mine's
what? Here's the
long.
thing. You know what? As a design, I do think that the Apple AirPods are a little bit ahead of itself due to the fact that it has that little stick that hangs down. But that's where you could put more battery at, right? Compared to the AirPods, the pod like the Samsung ones or even the Sennheisers, they're this bulk of equipment that's inside of your ear where you need more battery. I need more battery. They're gonna have to either come up with something like a extended range or something that loops around the back part of your neck to give you more battery or something. Like you stick the battery on your back. I don't know, but they need to last a whole lot longer than they're
I
lasting
feel
right
like
now.
there should be I feel that they should make Apple should make some AirPods that are more pro, that are more pro, that will actually last as far as the battery goes, because 250 is still like doesn't do it all. Like
Uh, I,
I feel like they need to put more battery. They need to put more battery life into them, because, like I said earlier, there's people that
It's
FaceTime
got to be a
for
weight issue.
hours.
It's got to be a weight issue, man. And the only way
Yeah,
that I see, and the only way I see them solving the weight issue, they're gonna have to go back to what it was before. So, like how Beats headphones had like the wired Beat headphones that had that wire with a little, it had a little battery
yeah.
puck in the middle, they're probably going to have to go back to doing something like that if you're going to get more juice out of them. I don't think that people would care as long as they last longer. Understand, all these features are nice, but every 2 to 3 hours you got to constantly flip back and forth. It's not viable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I think I would be happy. I would be happy if they increase the battery life of the uh case itself,
I don't, you know,
and then increase the charging speed.
I think that I think that the charging speed is pretty decent, and the battery life of the recharging ability is pretty good. But the life of the battery is the problem.
That's the only problem. And I mean, I wish the audio would get a little bit better, but right now, like, I don't care. I'd rather have more battery life than it. I mean, more battery life than anything.
Well, because right now, like even my pods, my Samsung pods, like the Gen 2, they bother my ear because they're starting to get heavier. But that's because from them trying to add more battery. The more battery you add, the heavier they become, which means that it irritates your ear. Now, surprisingly, the AirPods don't bother my ears much, but I don't have the pros.
And you know what, Edmund? That's the literally why I don't let go of the damn AirPods is because they like sometimes I will forget they're in my ear.
I have done that. I've literally done that just recently. I walk
I
in.
forget that they're
I
in my
normally keep
ear.
my headphones in the car, and I walked into my apartment, and I was like, "Oh crap, this thing is still in my ear."
Like there's literally times where I'm looking for my AirPods and they're in my damn ear.
Yeah,
But going back to what EM Tech was saying
uh huh.
earlier about the AirPods Max, those things are the most comfortable headphones I've
Oh
ever
god,
put
I
in
love
my
them.
ear.
I love them so much.
But they're
But
too
did they?
damn expensive.
That's what I was about to say. Are they so lovable that you could justify the price tag?
I could justify the price tag if, and this is if, they had a better case. The case is just ridiculous. I think the fact that they have lightning is ridiculous. But
Mm,
if they had a legit case option like this, like the Sonys and the Bose do, and if they had USB-C, 100%, I would buy them for $500.
how about this? For $500, it that along with these new like hearing aid features. So you act like you could stuff a lot of battery
Uh,
into something like that.
I don't see boomers walking around with full blown over the ear headphones on for hearing aid
I would,
purposes. Just to
I
be
would.
honest, you would, but would
Edmund,
would your
I will
dad do
say
it?
I will
Yes,
say this.
if you told him that he could have full blown conversations without having to yell, he will put them on. I
Edmund, I will
guarantee it.
tell you this: those things are comfortable, but after a certain amount of time, they feel bulky and they feel heavy. You just want to take them off.
Yeah, they are pretty heavy.
Uh,
But that's because Apple is going for the premium feel. They're not necessarily going for the
They're going
our
after the premium Bose customer.
exactly. But
mm,
but with especially and this extends to a lot of other product segments too. Battery tech isn't there. They can't increase the battery size without adding significantly larger amount of weight. So these companies are opting to either dock their battery life or they have to figure out some way to improve efficiency. Like it- we're not going to see drastic improvements in battery life until we finally see some additional technology come out that allows that to happen. You know,
right. I mean, here's the thing: if anybody who has the design capability right now, it's Apple. I mean, because with Samsung going with the whole Bud idea, to put more battery in puts more weight on my ear. Where Apple has that stem, they can extend that stem another couple centimeters, and it still would not be uncomfortable to the user. The battery, all the battery be inside the stem. It's not. You could pack the part that goes into your ear with all the technologies, but you still need to put battery somewhere.
Right.
And then their design choice to put the battery into the stem gives them more capabilities. I feel, me personally, from a tech point of view, that the battery inside the stem gives them more capabilities.
I feel Apple is more about style than battery life.
Yeah, and that's pretty prevalent, especially in their phones. Why I
But I think they're starting to learn that people really do want better
That's
and
very
better
true.
cameras.
Yeah,
And
that's
that's
another
why and
thing.
that's why the design each year stays so freaking same.
You know what? That's another thing when it comes to cameras. So what was it? I think it was what's the name of the company? But they put like major sensor, a major big sensor on one of their phones, so you could attach like actual lenses to it. I think that that's going to be the next trend because people are using their phones to do everything, especially now.
I think that
These phones,
that's the
Edmund,
move.
are literally pro diaries computers.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that
I think
the
that
modularity of these smartphones is the best way to go.
you know what, Google tried to do that and it fell flat on its face. There was this I forget the name of the company. It was a project that came through Motorola, and Motorola was trying to do like modular phones, and it went for a while, and then all of a sudden it got killed off.
And I think that has partially to do with the fact that, again, the technology just wasn't quite there yet.
True, but I think that the technology for smartphones and cameras are there. I mean, the only thing that's been limiting us is the size of the sensor. So, let's say that you're just doing regular everyday picture taking. You don't really need that many cameras. Look, we're right now up to 3 cameras on a phone, right?
Five, if you
So
include
the
the
S22,
S22.
the iPad, I mean, not iPad. I'm sorry, the iPhone 14 Pro Max has a 3 camera setup. The Pixels have a 3 camera setup. All these phones got 3 camera setups, and people are using them more for video. So what happens when you just go and you can take all these lenses and attach it to it, like a legit attach a lens to your phone.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that I don't know. It's the next move, but also like computational images have gotten so good, and like the software behind it have gotten so good that I don't know if necessarily companies are going to even move that direction though.
Here's the thing. DSLR. If you look at the DSLR market, I bet that the drive to buy a dedicated camera has gone down. Maybe not by a lot, but it's probably gone down. Like people literally use their phones. Like I use my phone to record my YouTube videos because the camera on my phone is just as sharp as if I was going to go out and get a DSLR.
No, I agree. I agree with you. And there's a lot of people out there that are in the same boat as you that like the the additional benefit that you gain from buying a dedicated piece of hardware like a camera, it's
Mhm.
just not there unless you're running like a full-blown production setup like uh like a bigger YouTuber like
Right.
MKBHD or Linus Tech
Well,
Tips.
you
They have a full-blown production studio because their videos involve a lot more
but here's the thing. You know
and
that you know that I can't say his name that man's name, but in Marquez
Marquez.
Brownie, he's shooting his automotive channel on an iPhone only.
What's
He's
that? What's
even
it
said
called?
it multiple times. It's like Automotive Plus or
Yeah. I
something.
remember.
So he's shooting all his footages and stuff of all the vehicles that he's reviewing on iPhone.
And I'm
And,
sure that nobody has noticed a difference.
and probably the people
Nope.
don't even know what's going on.
And that's going to be the death of. I mean, it probably won't be the death of the DSLR because I do think that in general, like for professional circumstances, I don't think that phones necessarily can keep up
Oh, hey,
completely.
thank you,
But
Austin.
for
I
most
saw it
people,
hiccuping a little bit. I don't know if that was earlier or not, but thank you for letting me know.
um, I totally
But
forgot my train of thought. I don't think that
oh,
it'll.
my bad.
I don't think that normal people are going to be rushing out to buy a DSLR for the ever. I think that era has ended.
Yeah. Oh, I'm telling you, man. If it wasn't Oppo. It's the other. It's another. It was a Chinese company that was doing
Xiaomi.
it. Was it Xiaomi? Yeah, I think it was Xiaomi. Like they put like a big old sensor on the back of the phone, and then they put a steel ring around it so you can attach actual like real world lenses. I think it I think it's like the global standard for lenses. I forget there's a company that makes only lenses for like a certain size, right? So if you aim for that, then all those lenses will just work. If I think that our smartphones are moving in that direction, there already became the everything phone for everybody's stuff. So you might as well start getting better at the picture. Computational only could take you but so far. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Nope.
but to be honest with you, I think that that's been driven less by the upgradability of these smartphone sensors. It's been more driven by computational photography done post image, and Google has proven that.
Yeah,
Like if you
but
watch Marquez's blind smartphone awards,
oh, I saw
he
that. Oh gosh, you know what? But you know what? He came back later and was like, "Why is the iPhone constantly trending in the middle of the pack, though?"
because I think it has a lot to do with the fact that Google's computational photography is just that great. Like, but he explained it in his smartphone awards videos that you know the blind test post image, the Google Pixel A series out of all of them always wins.
Mm,
But he ended up awarding the iPhone the best camera award because of the usability of the camera in terms of
right.
point and shoot and photography and the actual usage of the camera, which makes so much sense. And that's how I've always felt is that the iPhone traditionally has always had the best. I'm here in the moment right now. I need a picture, give it to me. But I've always said that Google phones always are better if you're actually like if you're using the camera with the intention of taking a picture beforehand, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I just think that um the nerdier you get with the device, the you start losing points. And the fact that the iPhones pretty much always stay in the middle is it doesn't have to be the best, it just has to be usable. Where with the Android phones, it's like, yo, it's nerdy brain central, right? And a lot of people are not going to buy the phone because they fear customization. Oh man, too many buttons, too many buttons.
I
And
mean,
they
And
don't know how to read those buttons.
oh,
what is
Brandon, you're mean.
people that like using cameras, especially when the cameras actually do have better quality than a smartphone, they're not going to move away except an
I mean, if
iPhone
you're
or an Android
making
phone doing that.
money, I mean, if you're making money, you're obviously going to buy a DSLR or a pro camera or whatever. You're not going to use a phone. Now, if you're going to do your regular Instagram pictures or whatever, then yeah, you're going to obviously use a smartphone.
Yeah, but understand, you're already starting to see even the megapixels are going up on the selfie cam.
Yup.
I mean, used to be a 4, a 8. Now we're up to 12. I think they're talking about putting a 40 megapixel camera on the selfie maybe one time soon. we're starting to get to the place where the cell phone is the
Oh, I
central
wouldn't be surprised if
distributor
there's a
now.
48 on the S23s.
Oh, I'm not. I wouldn't be surprised either.
Doesn't
But
doesn't there's a Samsung out there that has a 48 megapixel selfie camera.
there probably
It's
is.
no, it's the S20 FE. Samsung S20 FE. I'm pretty sure it does already.
I wouldn't put it past it. I wouldn't put it past it. I bet it would. It's probably there. I'm just saying that now I feel like we've hit where there's what else makes you excited about a phone. I think that the next barrier to entry is going to be a gigantic sensor on the phone, and you start bringing these lenses in. You know, the people already use their phones like they're shooting, you know, DSLR quality anyway. Give them the full DSLR experience.
And that's that could happen, but I just I have a hard time seeing it being feasible for one of two reasons. One is that smartphone manufacturers do not like to support their products after it seems like a year, really, is what it boils down to. Is like after 12 months, boom, you're done. Get out. We got more important things to worry about.
But hold on, but here's the thing: you're starting to see that it's required of them to support their cameras for longer now. Like what was it? Within the last, I say, 2 to 3 years, you've automatically seen that Samsung's come out and say, "Hey, we're supporting our phones for longer." Where Samsung was the notorious for like, yo, after a year, they stopped all everything. They would not support that phone at all. They've 180'd completely. You getting at least 3 years of complete software upgrades, and then maybe on the fourth year you might get some security stuff. That's more than enough time where, especially where I recycle my phone, 3 years. If I can keep a good camera around for 3 good years, that's great. From my point of view, that's even better.
I mean, I'm still rocking the iPhone 12, and a lot of people still say, "Oh, your camera looks really good," and this and that. And I'm like, it's probably the way how I take the damn pictures.
Probably.
A lot of people, they buy the iPhone and they don't even know how to use a raw picture. They don't know how to change the camera settings. They don't know how to change from 720p to 4K to 60 frames per second or 24 or whatever.
Hey, look, man, I'm just saying, like, yo, if you go on Amazon and type in like attachable cameras to smartphones, you get like a whole slew of like like not bolt on, but like clamps and different other things to put onto your phone so it can try to utilize the camera setup on your phone, right?
Right.
Everybody's trying to figure out a way to do it. Why won't you just go ahead and make it official? Like, just go cut all the BS. We got the lenses. We just don't have a platform to work off of.
Oh,
People are doing full blown productions, like almost shooting movies on YouTube on cell phones. You might as well just go ahead and give them the whole kit and caboodle. That's just me. But I do have one more article. I was going to do the Dodge Ram, but uh, Brandon doesn't like EVs.
Edmund, why don't we talk about smart homes?
You know what? There wasn't enough information that came out about it yet, and
Oh, shit.
I do want to filter through it. The CES did have a couple of different things, but everything's all discombobulated. So I don't have enough time to do it today. But I need to do a shout out before we get ready to go. A trendsetter has passed away. Anybody who built computers before, they're gonna know who I'm talking about. So the tech pioneer behind Sound Blaster has passed away. So if you ever build a computer, especially within the last 15, 20 years, You bought a creative technology product to put in your computer. I had sound blasters, everything. You know what I mean? So I don't know if y'all know anything about it, but Sound Blasters was the gold standard for enhancing your computer sound on for your speakers.
You're predating me, sir. Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, hey, look, for me, every computer that I built has some type of Sound Blaster or creative technology in it, up to probably about maybe 10 years ago, where they started building the sound card into the motherboard itself. So this man was, ahead of his time, dog. I just wanted to do that shout out for him. For me personally, this is a man who was ahead of his time. So,
Yeah,
hey, guys,
I unfortunately I do not have a I can't have any input because I didn't start building computers until 2020.
oh wow.
Yeah, man, I was real late to the PC game.
Oh
Uh,
man, hey, look, it just their creative suite of different products was huge, man. They were holding on as like sound cards were being phased out, and then I haven't really heard anything from them since, because everything is built into the motherboard now, and you'll have like tailored made audio equipment now that will do everything a sound blaster could do times 10. So if anything, the company just got bogged down with not being able to adjust to the times. That's all. But hey, I want to say thank you for showing up, Brandon, for coming back.
Mhm.
Next week I should be able to filter through enough of what happened at CES to start talking about the home automation.
gonna
There's
be
a
the only
lot of information to start filtering through.
gonna be the only exciting thing that comes out of CES this year. I'm very excited for all of the new smart home integration.
Well, hey, look, there's a whole lot of companies that are now adopting Matter as their finance that baseline of communication across the board. So there's a lot of companies starting to gravitate towards it. It's just not just Google, Apple, and a few other products, but
Exactly. Well, I'm very excited.
everybody's starting to go towards it, which I think that's going to end up being like the future tech that's going to be being driven for the next couple years. But hey, everybody, if you're still watching, and hit us up on the internet, Brandon, anywhere that the people can find you or locate you at, if you want to be found.
I don't want to be found.
He doesn't want to be found. And what about you, EM? Your chance
Uh,
to plug.
you want to find my spicy Twitter hot takes? You can find me at emtech _ on Twitter, and enjoy watching me make fun of mobile.
Most definitely. And then you got me Keon81 on Twitter, at Keon81. And then, my community tech channel. Feel free to, blast me with some juicy tech tidbits so we can have a conversation around it. And then, you can join the Patreon to come up here and tell me how wrong I am from time to time if that's what you want to do. Thank y'all for watching, because I'm saying I got plenty of people that do that. Thank y'all for watching, and y'all have a good one.
Hashtag Google Chrome sucks.
Oh
I mean,
wow,
Chrome.
Brandon.
Hey.